Hi, everybody. Just wanted to welcome you to our webinar today, Discover the Galapagos and Sail with BTA and HX Expeditions. Thanks for joining. We have a pretty packed agenda, but at the same time, we're going to just have sort of a casual conversation, sharing some of our experiences traveling with HX, our experiences in the Galapagos, and the benefits of traveling in a group, and some of the added value that you get from an experience such as that. So thanks for joining today and taking a little bit of time out of your day in order to hear all about this amazing opportunity, February 11th through 19th, 2026. And we'll just jump right in and introduce our panelists. I'm Julie Rose. I'm a travel coach at Boutique Travel Advisors and also a blogger, which I think some of you are have been introduced to my travel content. I have hosted several group trips with BTA and with my audience, and it's been an absolute joy. So I'm really, really excited about this upcoming adventure in the Galapagos. I wanted to just share quickly what really attracted me to visiting the Galapagos Islands. It's been a dream. And really, it's because wildlife experiences are at the absolute top of my bucket list. And in the past few years, I've been trying to check them all off the list. So Galapagos is next. It is truly a Garden of Eden, from what I can understand. So I cannot wait to experience it myself and share it with you. And luckily, all the other folks on this webinar have already been, so they will be able to share lots of amazing experiences and hopefully get you excited for this bucket list destination. So, Angie, I will have you go next and introduce yourself.
I'm Angie Rice, and I'm one of the co-founders of Boutique Travel Advisors. And we're really in the business of creating experiences for our clients and providing them opportunities to travel in a way that's a little bit more experiential, knowing that they work with BTA advisors and coaches that have firsthand knowledge and great contacts, including HX, where we can help discern your questions related to making travel experiences. And this is an opportunity for you to join an HX sailing where be on board to help with preparing you ahead of time, but also when you're traveling. And I think that that's an added bonus to have someone on board. And it's also an opportunity for us to really describe what it is to sail Galapagos Islands, knowing that for some of you, maybe it'll turn out that our travel dates don't align with your schedule, but it's still an opportunity for you to travel with the support of BTA and along with HX because they have great product, not just in Galapagos Islands, but in off the beaten path destinations at sea. I will share a little bit about my personal experience with the Galapagos Islands. I took my young family as a solo mom. My husband was unable to join us, and I thought it was a great destination to be able to immerse yourself in the experience, both the scenery that was offered by the Galapagos Islands and the adventure. We kayaked on a daily basis. We did some of the best snorkeling that I've ever done, and I'm a former scuba diver. I don't dive as often, but the snorkeling was fantastic. And the hiking, and also the opportunity to really embrace understanding the Galapagos Islands, where they are today from a sustainability perspective, and the history of civilization on the Galapagos Islands, because that, if you read about the history of the Galapagos Islands, it really does have it's a great destination to understand the impact of the human footprint. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes we have to course correct. So you will learn with HX. That's another reason why we chose HX as our partner in this journey, is that they provide a learning environment. Their ships are really built for adventure, but they also are, in my opinion, very comfortable and a little bit on the luxury side as well for expedition.
Thanks, Angie. And Esteban from Giving Back Magazine, tell us about you.
Well, hello. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you for allowing me to join. Um, my wife and I publish several magazines here in Southern California. One of them is Giving Back Magazine. And we have the fortunate situation to be invited to travel to many destinations and share those destinations across the world. We've formed a partnership with BTA as travel advisors and went on the journey to the Galapagos. It is it is like being on a different planet. Myself, I'm a biologist by study, so it was an honor and an experience to see these animals, these environments, these habitats firsthand. So it was a great experience, and I'm delighted to be here and share whatever answers I can from our experience.
Thank you, Esteban and Linda from HX Expeditions.
Yeah, thank you for having me today. This is really exciting, you guys. My name is Linda Kavanaugh. I'm the business manager here at HX Expeditions. I've been with the company for almost 2 years, and I spent my entire life in the cruise industry. But this is by far above any expectations that I could ever imagine to work for this company and also work so closely with South America, Central America regions, and also Galapagos Island, of course. There's so many things can be said. I think what I always say is like if you can explain Galapagos Island in this part of the world, you probably haven't been because there's so many exciting things to say. We talked about this a little earlier, what's your most favorite part about the islands? Why do you like going there? And it's just all about the endemic species, right? Of animals that you can't see anywhere else. The tortoises, the penguins, who knew you can see penguins this far north? The red and blue-footed boobies. There's so many different colors of birds, iguanas. The wildlife is just so very unique with all their distinct features, the rarity of not just the birds and animals, but also the flora and the fauna and the different islands. We're going to take you on the journey to different islands, and no island is going to be the same. And that's the fun part. You're going to see beaches, you're going to see volcanic beaches, red sand beaches, but also lush forests and desert sands. It's just such a unique place. And I am so excited that we are going to be able to take you there and give you a little bit of taste today, but then also literally take you there in February next year. So this is going to just be a little teaser. And we like to travel with a purpose and, hopefully change the way you see the world. So I'm excited.
Thank you, Linda. We're glad you're here. So I tend to think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So a video is like a book. Um, and we'll definitely get a lot of insight into the Galapagos with this video.
The birds flying around here, these are the frigate birds. And we've seen them before, super, super far away. But here in North Seymour, we can see them so close that we even have to duck a little bit so they don't crash into us. For a lot of people, it's almost surreal to be here because they come prepared, people read about it, people watch documentaries. But once you get here, it's where you understand Galapagos. It doesn't seem like part of Earth, a place only 6 hours away from Los Angeles. Each island has its population. So these ones that we see right now belong to this area, belong to South of Glasses. I'm a teacher by trade, but living in Galapagos, I felt like I wanted to teach people nature, about the animals, about the uniqueness of the place I come from. So I started working for the Darwin Foundation, and that's how my guiding career started. And here I am 22 years after. We have a big whale. This is, if I were to estimate, probably about 80 years old right now. What excites me about Galapagos is the uniqueness of the place, the amount of unspoiled life that we have here, and how everything works in such a harmony. My job allows me to show people, to teach people, maybe even touch their hearts. It's a place that you cannot miss. If you can do it, do it. Many people do worry, am I contributing to the problem if I come to Galapagos? But you're actually not. The operations run in Galapagos are so responsible. And by us having tourism in less than 1% of the archipelago, we not only raise awareness for this place, but we also raise money. So I think tourism is probably the most responsible activity that we can have in such a fragile place. Galapagos is not a place where you come only to hear the guide talk or to see something. It's just a place where you feel at peace.
So I bet that takes all of you back who've been there and hopefully gives everyone on the webinar a taste of what's to come should they decide to join us. But Linda, did you want to tell us a little bit about the Galapagos Islands before we get into our itinerary and the ship?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be my pleasure. So we have the first slide there, so we can probably just skip over to the next slide there, Julie. So yeah, as we kind of have said, and probably many of you know, Galapagos belongs to Ecuador. They sit about 620 miles off the west side there of Ecuador. They have about 19 islands. 4 of them are inhabited. So we're going to fly you from Quito, the mainland, into Baltra, right in the middle there. You see the red spot, and that's kind of where Santa Cruz is going to be out at anchor, and we will pick you up there and then take you over to her and then start the cruise. But that is essentially the archipelago that Galapagos essentially consists of. A lot of people can say, I've been there or I'm thinking about going, but it is a rarity. And I kind of want to bring that up with some just statistics that I've kind of been studying year after year. But, just to kind of throw some numbers out there, how special it is to go to Galapagos Islands. So, for example, last year, Galapagos had about 330,000 visitors. 330,000 visitors. It sounds like a lot, and that is a lot. But if we compare that with the Vatican, which is a 1/8 of a size of Central Park, it had 6.8 million people visiting. So you compare that, you outweigh one to the other. This is a very rare place to visit. And we are, again, so excited that we have that opportunity to take it to this very special place. And so again, why go with HX Expeditions? I'm just like very happy for our as a company that we are able to provide an all-inclusive experience for our clients. All-inclusive for us means essentially everything is included by the time you essentially settle up with the BTA. And what's not included is almost easier to say is anything in the gift shop. So you have all the food, all the drinks, the landings, the excursions, all the permits. This is a heavy regulated place to go to. So you do need permits, national parks passes. We take care of that, all that for you. That's all included in your ticket of the price. Also, if you look at under number 3 there, the max ratio, 12-1 guest to naturalist. At any given time, you cannot go ashore more than 16 people in a group, but we try to keep that to like 10 and 12, no more, just to give you a more exclusive experience when you go ashore on these islands, to get more of a deeper understanding, more immersion into the destination and these islands itself. So, and again, the Santa Cruz itself, like Angie said, she's a beautiful, beautiful lady. And she was just recently renovated. She just came out of a dry dock about 4 days ago. So she is going to be just in beautiful, beautiful shape for you guys. So best time to travel to Galapagos, I say there's never a bad time to go. It's basically when you have time to go to Galapagos, that is the best time to go. The weather stays steady year around. As you can see, the average temperature over there on the right-hand side. You guys going to find your way there most probably in February. Average temperature around 76. So, that is just very comfortable. And again, just be prepared for the hot sun. You're right on the equator. So, sunblock and all that is, just a very good idea, but they also have that on board for you. You will enjoy, again, abundance of wildlife and bird life. And the sunsets and sunrises are just beautiful because you're not have any disturbance of any big cities or anything like that. And then just a very neat opportunity for snorkeling and plenty of time in the water for kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding and also glass bottom boat viewing because the Santa Cruz travel with her own glass bottom boat. So if you are one of those people that maybe just don't want to get in the water all that much, you can just kind of get onto the glass bottom boat and enjoy all the abundance of wildlife and such from the glass bottom boat. So you see all the activities there over to the left-hand side. Those are all the items that we do include again into the ticket price. All the wildlife tours, all the landings that are included for you. We do deep and reef water snorkeling. We also do snorkeling from the beach if you're not quite comfortable. We can also do a lot of swimming, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, and glass bottom boat. Again, all that equipment is included for you, even the wetsuits. We also last year started to introduce a mountain biking tour on Santa Cruz Island, which is super popular. So everybody have a chance to go mountain biking. But if you don't want to, we'll take you to a van to that final destination. And on this itinerary, everybody gets to go up to the Charles Darwin Research Station to learn more in depth about the Darwin and all the research he did when he founded these islands. And also you get a chance to go up and see those big, big tortoises up into the highlands, and hike around that tall grass up there. So that is just a really unique, distinct feature about this specific itinerary that BTA has put together for you as well. And also there are opportunities to enhance this itinerary for you for pre and post cruise extensions. And Julie and Angie and the team can talk to you more about that later on. So talking about the lady itself, the Santa Cruz Dos, she will take a maximum of 90 guests. Any ship in Galapagos the maximum is 100, but we took that allotment down by 10 just to give guests more space on board the ship itself. So 90, we do not sail more than 90 guests on board. She has a beautiful restaurant, 3 courses for a lunch and dinner. And if you have any vegetarian requests and dietary restrictions, please let us know. We can take care of that for you. Science center, research center, observation decks, plenty of bars and restaurants. Again, that is all inclusive in your ticket price. Hot tubs, which are very popular. I know the fitness and workout room. We have those guests that kind of want to keep up with the fitness, even though you be active ashore. And expedition boats, those pangas, the zodiacs, they're going to take you from the boat itself and go ashore. Now, we have a lot of questions. Oh, how do I get into a panga? How do I get into a zodiac? The simple answer is if you can get in and out of your bathtub at home, we can get you in and out of that panga and zodiac. No problem. We will be there to lend a hand again. And the glass bottom boat, and then again, all the expedition gear. We want you to travel light with no concern. We got you. Once you get into Ecuador, we will take care of you from then on. And again, couple of pictures here of the boat itself. Like I said, she has a beautiful fitness center. We also have some space there to do some yoga on the outside decks or inside the expedition lounge. You kind of get a feel and the sense of the openness of the lounges on board. A lot of windows, so you can sit inside and read and listen to the lectures and participate in the workshops for the science centers and research workshops that we have on board with expedition staff and the biologists and marine biologists and our historians. Again, a view there also of the hot tubs. It's kind of nice to kind of sit in a hot tub, maybe before after lunch or before after dinner and just kind of enjoy your day as it is.
Yeah, and Linda, I kind of want to emphasize that it's not like a cruise, even though we're on a boat. This is an expedition where we're interested in wildlife, we're learning, it's a cultural and a biological, ecological experience where, you're not just like laying out on the boat all day or, dining in the restaurants or drinking on deck. It's really an experience for people who are curious. And Esteban, maybe you can speak to that. with the people that you experienced your expedition cruise with. I think it attracts a certain type of person, right?
It does. This was my wife and I's first experience with expedition cruising, and it is a very intense and different than just a cruise line that you would do in the Caribbean. We had sunrise hikes. We had wake-up calls before dawn. We were very active from sunrise to sunset. And the reality is that the national park of Galapagos is only allowing guests to be on the shore from sunrise to sunset. So that really dictates the ship schedule and the passenger schedule. You will want every minute of your day because every experience is so unique. We did everything that was offered to us from that sunrise hike before breakfast, and you go out on the pangas, you come back, you're snorkeling before lunch, you're doing a hike in the afternoon. There is not one moment that you are sitting there thinking, gosh, what could I possibly do? No, the team at HX, the experiences, the shore excursions keep you very busy. And the luxury of the ship for the moments you do need to repose is a perfect balance because the nature is somewhat rustic. It's very real. It's as challenging as can be. So the luxury of the ship and its accommodations is the perfect balance.
You can come back here and take a nap after your after your sunrise hike. So we have a couple different room categories that we have secured for our group. We have the deck 2, which is an EE class, and the EH class, which is on deck 1. So on EH deck 1, is the lower deck. We have the reception, gift shop, and medical center is located there. A little bit more of a quiet deck. On deck 2, this is where the lounge, the library, and the science center is, along with the hot tubs and the bar. So people can go outside, they can go out on the deck, and it's a little bit of a lively deck. So we've got a couple of options that we've secured at very preferred prices for everyone. And of course, if you have other needs, please inquire and we will see what we can do. But we hope we can get you guys in on our remaining rooms because we've already had a few get snatched up. So Linda, do you want to tell us a little bit about the itinerary?
Yeah, I will give you a kind of just a good highlight here. I don't want to take too much time, but just as a good highlight. And when we talk about pricing and what's included, I think we had touched on it already. But basically, you'll be flying from your home, from your doorstep, essentially into Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador. There's a lot of good lifts from all over the US right now into Quito. For example, if you're flying from Houston, it's about a 4.5 hour flight with United, for example, down into Quito. We will pick you up. Your transfer is included. We'll take you to the JW Marriott Hotel for 2 nights. That's all included for you. And we also invite you to enjoy a full day city sightseeing tour in Quito itself. We'll take you to the middle of the world monument, into the cathedrals. You'll have a beautiful 3-course lunch and into the cloud forest and so on and so forth. And also for time for shopping. And also you will have a all-included dinner with your staff, with your expedition staff that evening before you fly out to Baltra, the Galapagos Island. I just want to point out again that all that is included, including the flight from the mainland out to the islands. And then once you get on to the Baltra, the islands, like Esteban said, then we're going to get going. We're going to get going with excursions right away. For those who want to participate that afternoon, you will be on one of the islands and ready to explore. And you then have 6 nights, pretty much 7 days on the islands, and you kind of see the map there over to the right-hand side, all those islands that are included in this specific itinerary. And again, cruising around the Santa Cruz Island, the main island there, to see the tortoises, the highlands, and a lot of time in San Cristobal for the marine iguanas, a lot of bird life again on this specific tour, and also a lot of time spent, or opportunities, I should say, for those people who want to kayak, snorkel, and see all the wonders, what's under the sea, so to speak. So that's just a very, very brief highlight over the itinerary, and then we'll fly you back into Quito, and then wherever that the destination will take you, whether you fly home or if you stay in Ecuador for a few more days, or maybe you extend the package and fly over to Peru.
I love all the stops because I think it really shows you this comprehensive view and understanding. It gives you a lot in the Galapagos. And when you travel, you go so far, you really want to make sure you maximize your time and see as much as you can. And there's just no other way to see the Galapagos like this unless you're on a boat, on a ship. It's
Yeah.
extremely difficult to get to these places.
Yeah, and then one thing I think Angie mentioned a little bit, this is a cruise that we have here at HX that we want you to be part of the adventure, but we also want you to be very comfortable. This is not a cruise where we expect you to dress up. It's a very comfortable, casual environment on board. So comfort is very important to us. You can come as you are, shorts and t-shirt is fine for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Essentially, like I like to say, we want you to see penguins, not dress like a penguin. So just be comfortable on board. And then again, sustainability and research and learning is the forefront of our philosophy at any given time. So those are basically our three pillars here at HX: adventure, comfort, and sustainability.
Awesome.
And the learning aspect really gives you the opportunity to embrace the experience. I think that we have just a greater appreciation for the experience when you do have those lectures on board. And I actually, Linda, had a question from a traveler that is interested in joining the group, but was not available for this live webinar. And their question, which I think would be fun to get your input, I've also gathered some answers to this question from some other suppliers, is that they wanted to contemplate the experience by land versus on an expedition cruise, or potentially creating their own charter with a smaller group. And I think that there's, in my opinion, a lot of reasons to sway towards a expedition sailing of this size with HX. But I would love for you to kind of share some of the different highlights of experiencing the ship with HX, knowing that there are other options.
Yeah, and of course, there are a lot of different outlets out there, different vendors, different ways of doing things depending on your time and your wallet size and so on and so forth. What I do know, when you go to the Galapagos Islands by land, and you can do so by staying in, hotels or hostels or what have you, that is an option, but in most cases, if not all, you only have time to go from your hotel out to one island per day, because that's how long it takes to basically get organized with a group. You have to sign up with a vendor. You definitely can't go on your own. And it takes X amount of time. If you think about, if you're looking on the map there, if you stay on Santa Cruz, then it takes X amount of time to travel by boat out. Maybe you do a snorkel and then you come back. That takes about 7 to 8 hours. And then you're limited just the one day. You have spent then one day just I put in quotation, doing one thing, versus kind of like Esteban said, you are on an HX cruise. We're going to get you ashore 3 to 4 times a day from sunrise to sunset, right? And then including in that, you have your F&B allotments, your food and beverages and everything else, your lecture in between, while the ship might be in transit. So those are a couple of things. If you think about, you want to maximize your time, because time is valuable. We only have so much time, right? I like to say we have an unlimited time, but we really don't. So those are one things that I kind of want people to keep in mind, for those people who just kind of want to try to do it on their own. And I've seen people do it, but just kind of keep that in mind. You in most cases only have time to do one activity per day.
Yeah, and I actually spoke with a hotel brand that has a property in the Galapagos Islands, and they too very much want to set expectations because you don't have as much time exploring. And instead, you're entertained at the hotel because there is more downtime on land, less time really exploring the destination. And I have curated quite a bit of Galapagos Island itineraries for different clients. And some of the feedback that I have related to smaller ships is that you don't have as much time on the ship with the crew because they're multitasking. So there isn't someone dedicated to providing a lecture while someone else is prepping for tomorrow's excursion. So when you have the right size and the crew with different disciplines, that's added value. And the variety to meet different people, both the staff and the crew, that's creating that experience at HX, but also the demographics of the other travelers. This is an opportunity for you to explore the destination with other BTA travelers, with Julie hosting, and also other guests, since there are going to be, 40 other cabins of guests on board, with a large portion of those being BTA travelers. But I think that diversity is always welcomed, and it's still big picture, a smaller ship. Most expedition experiences are more quaint given its size.
Yeah, exactly. I think
And I'll
you're
add the gym because when the ship is too small, you will have some time on board. And to have different outlets where you can pick up a good book, maybe play, a game of cards or socialize with other guests. And for those of you that want that gym time, it's available to you with HX. And there also, you do have the amenities of the hot tubs, which are quite nice as well.
I think
that's
another
fine.
thing too with the ship size, the stability, for those who are maybe concerned with seasickness and anything related to that, that you have more stability with a larger vessel versus a lot of the smaller outfitters have just retrofitted like catamarans and other sailing vessels from personal usage. So we have the added benefit of that as well. So Esteban, you have shared several photos of your time in the Galapagos, and I think a lot of those islands were um, you recognize them, I'm sure, from your trip. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about some of the highlights and the most memorable moments from your time sailing with HX?
I think what made it really memorable, to be honest with you, was the ability of HX to have a guide on every shore excursion that was explaining what we were seeing. I knew a lot of this because from my biology studies, but for the general traveler, yes, we're looking at an iguana, but why is that interesting? Why is that actually amazing? Why is it so important for the planet, for the biodiversity? And to have those guides explaining how those animals and the environment came to be was what really changed it from watching a documentary to living an experience to actually changing how you really see the whole island experience. The photo there in the top left, the animals have no fear whatsoever of humans because we're so controlled with those guides. You are not allowed to be on the island without a guide. That applies to the folks on HX and to anybody else. So that's a great control. So the animals have no fear. We saw the pink island, pink sand beach there on Rabida. That was truly a stunning experience. The mention of the zodiacs and getting in and out of the bathtub, they have that down to a science. They got everybody in and out. You'll learn the Galapagos handshake, which is you grab two wrists and you don't move until they say go. Um, but every moment was carefully curated. We were taken care of. The experience was meaningful, and it created a narrative that really brought the island into a very personal interaction in understanding every element of it. So to be there with the guides is really what made it memorable. It was a very intense schedule, though, I will say. From sunrise to sunset, you mentioned the lively deck. Nobody was up past dinner time. Everyone was asleep. This is not a party boat. There is no music or dancing. They've replaced the casino with an onboard science laboratory. So what you see on the shore, you're then brought into the laboratory. You see these things under the microscope. You see water samples. You get an explanation. You see interactive maps. It's living a different experience. I will mention though, even though it's warm, depending on where you're from in the country, we're from Southern California, so it was a little bit fresh, especially in the evening. So a light jacket, it is not this Death Valley 110-degree heat that you would expect on the equator. It's actually much more temperate. And some islands are rainforest, others are more desert in nature. So that was a bit of a surprise. So be ready for a little bit of fresh and you did mention that you dress for the occasion. Well, the occasion is shore excursions. There's no tuxedos, there's no formal night. But be ready for what's called wet landings and dry landings. This was not part of my vocabulary before the Galapagos. Dry landing, the Zodiac takes you and you get out and you put your feet down, and where you put your feet is dry. But sometimes we don't have that luxury. So you will do a wet landing, which they get you close to the shore and you may be in knee-deep water. So that's important when you're considering what shoes to wear because you're going on a hike. So the entire cruise was filled with memorable moments. And HX really takes care of that experience so it becomes meaningful. So that's pretty much my memorable moments there shared on the Santa Cruz Dos.
Thanks for the packing tips. I'll make sure to send everybody a list of recommended products. But I wanted to ask you, being that you're trained in biology, what did you think of the expedition guides and the lectures?
It was really exciting to see the nature outside of a textbook, but to have a biologist, a naturist, explain it from the simplest level for somebody who's never studied biology before to understanding very complex questions and being able to explain that. The staff, the crew, and the naturists are a truly gem of the experience. Having them changes the experience on the islands. And they were able to explain from the simplest things to the most complex things and make it understandable for everyone in the ship.
And what qualities do you think it's important for travelers on a trip like this to the Galapagos should have? You know, it takes a certain kind of person, right?
It does. And as luxurious as the ship is, it is luxurious and some of the best food that we've had at sea, without a doubt. Be ready because this is a demanding itinerary. You will have a wake-up call before sunrise. You will have a morning hike. You will be changing clothes. You will go and snorkel with hammerhead sharks and manta rays. Get back on the ship. Take your wetsuit off. Go run. Take a shower. Put clothes on. Get on a Zodiac and be back on the shore in 30 minutes. This is not what I would call a relaxing trip. It is very active. It's very intense, but it is very worthwhile. We did not pass up any opportunity or experience that was offered on the ship and enjoyed every single one of them. So it's something to keep in mind. It's somebody who is going to be okay with making some effort in their experience, in their travel experience, but it's very much worth it. This is not a passive experience.
Mhm. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to about the onboard experience or um, the time on the islands?
We had a great time. We did journey to various different islands. We hiked Bartolome, we did Rabida, we visited Darwin Bay. Um, the different environments is important. When we went to go see the giant tortoises, it's in a tropical rainforest environment. And there is another island where you think you're standing on the surface of Mars. So be ready for that variety. Um, Comfortable shoes is very important. And when I say comfortable, light hiking shoes. Do not think you're going to explore the Galapagos with Tevas and flip-flops. This is a good amount of hiking and steps and landings, and it's intense in nature, but very, very rewarding.
That sounds very enriching. Thank you so much. And Angie also traveled to the Galapagos, so wanted to hear about some of your memorable moments and the connection to nature that you experienced, and what you would tell other travelers coming to the Galapagos.
Right. I'll agree with Esteban. It's an opportunity to do sometimes 3 activities in a day. So it is jammed packed, but you can it's hard to move away from the possibility of an experience, right? It creates that FOMO. But if you do, my son, for example, a typical teenager, did not always wake up for that morning hike. So he oftentimes would stay on crew and be part of the breakfast crew as everyone else was experiencing that hike. I think that this is a great opportunity for people to explore nature also for the first time. Like, as long as you're an active person, it's an opportunity to embrace travel. It's an opportunity for you to maybe explore photography and videography, or it's an environment where maybe you've thought of scuba diving, but you're not sure. Well, this is an environment that's really going to allow you to see more wildlife than some people see scuba diving while snorkeling. So I think that was fantastic. And I also, in addition to really enjoying the wildlife, my kids were obsessed with the boobies. If you can see in this photo, they were in mating season. And you could sit and watch for 20, 30 minutes the interaction between the two boobies, because there is almost like a human connection between these animals and their commitment to their partners. And I would also add that it was some of the best stargazing that I've seen and some of the best sunsets. And during those times that you're on the ship, I personally chose to, because I don't have the biology and science background that Esteban has, I actually took that time to read straight from the bookshelves of the cruise, documentations and documentaries on traveling to the Galapagos and reading about the science and the history from different perspectives. And I really enjoyed kind of being a step ahead on the reading before we went to the different islands.
So Angie, you went to the Galapagos with your family, and Esteban went with his partner. And but we have I'm sure a couple of travelers that would be coming solo as a solo person, and maybe Linda, you can also chime in on this as well. But what do you think about the Galapagos as a solo destination, and specifically like joining HX as a solo person?
Yeah, I'll share with you that we had solo travelers on our itinerary, and the age range was between age 14, which was my son, my youngest, and there was an 84-year-old traveler, and he was a hoot. Now, his wife struggled a little bit with the itinerary, so she sometimes stayed back. And she also, instead of kayaking with her husband, she kayaked with one of the guides that was a little bit more experienced. So that was a way that they were able to stay active without necessarily doing all the heavy lifting with the kayaking. And I felt that the interaction amongst the guests was very inviting. And because you are essentially on a curated experience with HX from the time, you arrive into Quito and return to Quito, as well as the added benefit of you traveling, Julie, I feel it's one of the safest environments that I could think of for a solo traveler. They're going to feel included, and they're not going to have to worry about any safety issues that would be any different for anybody else, right? Like maybe swimming with the sharks, right? We all put ourselves a little bit at risk there. But like Esteban mentioned, I felt like you really saw the connection between the guides. they recognized and had familiarity with certainly the tortoises, but also some of the other wildlife. We were just welcomed, and yes, we felt like guests because we were entering the environment of the wildlife, but you just felt so, is it similar to a safari? I think it's different in the sense that you are truly you're truly walking into their scenery and they're oblivious to you. They're absolutely oblivious to you in a very positive way. They don't see you as you really fit into the environment given the way that it's controlled.
Also, my wife and I traveled and made a lot of friends with solo travelers. Since everyone on this cruise is united in the sense that they're all coming for this natural experience, you have a very shared community. So you sit down to dinner with different folks and you share that common goal of this experience. So the solo travelers, I didn't see them as solo travelers. I saw them as different people from different groups and just sharing that joint experience. So I think it's a great experience for solo travelers. I think it's great for couples. I think some of the younger kids may be a bit challenged, as Angie's son was, but if you can get in and out of a bathtub, you're ready for the Galapagos.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just kind of add to that just quickly. I mean, overall, as a company in our fleet, our total occupancy, we have about 20 to 30% of our occupancy are solo travelers. So essentially, we welcome the solo travelers like we welcome, couples or families or multi-generational families. We just think that is great, and again, because the boats are of a smaller size, but yet, very comfortable, it creates that community, like Esteban said, like-minded people typically with that curious mindset, want to travel with a purpose, and it just builds that friends kind of community on board. And like we kind of said, you come on board as a guest, you become friends on board, and then we welcome you back as a family, so to speak. So, and a couple more things that maybe wasn't mentioned in the beginning, but we do have full-time professional photographers on board that would help you to take pictures and video. And again, if you don't have time or if you can't be bothered with your phone and cameras, that is fine as well. But 2 weeks after your cruise, we will send you a link to all the pictures, all the videos that have been taken throughout the cruise. So you really don't have to worry about snapping every pictures on all these islands as well. So that is taken care of for you. And again, if you would need a hand or like how to hold the camera to get the best picture of an iguana or a sea lion or maybe a whale, then the photographers are on board to help you with that as well.
And that's real added value because then you get to live in the moment.
Live in a moment. I love it.
So, all of you guys touched on some of the things that I like to bring up when I talk about why traveling in a group, if you could just as easily go by yourself or with your significant other. And I want to kind of start with sharing what I find to be an interesting statistic is that the global group travel market is growing. It's almost going to double from 2024 to 2034. It is an expanding sector because there really is a growing desire for unique and immersive travel experiences that you can experience with others. People are wanting to combine the travel experience with the camaraderie and the memories and the socialization of a group and of friends and of others in order to enhance and enrich those experiences. So, and it also gives a little bit of added support, a little bit of added safety, and all of the benefits I have here. So I actually have a couple photos of some of my recent group trips. The last one was a safari in Kenya, which is the photo on top. Also a women's trip to Morocco and a co-ed trip to Oaxaca for Day of the Dead. So I'm hosting, I don't know, 3 to 4 trips a year, and it's an absolute joy to sort of bring like-minded people together and really sharing something super meaningful. So I'm really excited to do that again in the Galapagos. And I think there's several things that we have going for, group travel. And like I said, it's sort of that the community and being able to share in the wonder of something amazing together. Um, I think the benefit also of the group experience on an expedition is that you get to see so much without having to jump around, without having to deal with logistics. Um, sure, you could do everything piecemeal like we were talking about before, and then you're handling the logistics yourself. So there's really a lot of benefit to the unpack once, see it all in a group setting handled by, the operator. Another benefit is you do have your own space and you're able to design your schedule at your own pace, which means you can decide when you want to have time alone. You can decide when you want to engage in others. You can go back to your room if you want to, put your headphones in and chill, or if you feel like I want to do drinks in the bar or on the lounge. There's zero pressure when you want to be social and when you don't want to be. So lots of organic chances to connect with people. Still plenty of time for solitude. Obviously, with guided experiences, you have a whole another level of stress-free travel. You have the naturalists, you have the expedition team, and of course, you have me there. So I'm happy to be a little bit of a social coordinator, and all you have to do is show up and be curious. So really, I think a trip like this is the best of both worlds. You have the aspects of, being on your own or being with your significant other or whoever you're traveling with the support, connection, and camaraderie of the other people in the group, and of course, me. So you don't have to make a choice. You get it all. And it's all in one nice package where it's all included and you don't have to piecemeal and whip out your credit card and pay for things one by one. So I think tons and tons of benefits. So, on that note, we have a couple minutes left for questions, and I do want to make sure we have a chance for anyone who has any questions to go ahead and actually, I don't mind if you go off mute if you want to just go ahead and ask. And while you're getting off mute, I will just say, for everyone who has attended or RSVP'd, we'll be sending a follow-up email that has all the details. I know we just said this was just going to whet your appetite because there's lots more details about the itinerary and the inclusions to share. So that will all be in everybody's inbox within the next probably 24 to 48 hours. And then also too, if you decide to book in the next 30 days, so any from now until June 19th, I suppose, you'll be entered to win a $100 gift card from REI. So mention that you saw the webinar. Even if you've already booked, you're entered. So I know we have a few of those, but we just really want to invite everybody to share in this amazing journey with us. So on that note, does anybody have any questions in the last few minutes?
Hey, Julie, this is Brian Smith. I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay, well, first, before the question, I want to thank everybody for doing this. It's been extremely helpful, and I appreciate all your experiences and your expertise in sharing with us today. And then one of the questions I have is, you're going to be flying like my wife and I are flying in from Phoenix, right? So we're a whopping 1,000 feet above sea level in Phoenix. We're going to be flying into Quito, that's 9,300 feet above sea level. How have you seen, like Esteban and Angie, with being there, how people have adjusted to the elevation? And would you recommend even possibly flying in a day before we start just to get oriented to the elevation?
I can answer from our personal experience. I mean, we've traveled to some high elevation destinations. The visit in Quito isn't all that strenuous. We didn't feel that short of breath. I don't know if elevation is your only concern. I don't know if you need another day for that. We landed from sea level to Quito, and then Galapagos is back to sea level. So it's just a 2-day experience, and the activities in Quito are not that strenuous.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate that.
I'll add to that. I did not have any issues, neither did anyone in our group, and we represented a group of different ages and activity levels when flying in and out of Quito, so no issues across the board. I will say at higher elevation, when I flew into Cusco to Peru on a different itinerary where it was, a few thousand feet higher, some of us in the group were a little nauseous. So big difference between those two destinations.
Okay, thanks, Angie.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great question. I also didn't have any problems in Quito, but I have had problems at higher elevation. So um, that's good to know that Quito seems pretty safe for most folks.
Yeah, and you are in a more of a leisure state for those couple of days. The city tour isn't going to take up all of your time. I would consider, if based on your flight time and your comfort level, because some people are going to take flights where you get in very, very late. I know that I was in that situation. We adjusted okay, but we flew in and we didn't get in till after 11 p.m. So in that circumstances, someone might be wanting to add an extra day. But if you arrive earlier and you take a red eye, perhaps you'd be more comfortable with the current schedule. And don't rule out pre and post experiences. That sometimes is what BTA does best. We rely on our tour operators to create this experience that has a bookend, a start and an end. And we can certainly create unique experiences to the Andes, which is R&R. And we've done several trips where we combine the Galápagos Islands with a Peruvian experience. So those are options as well. You are traveling a far distance for 9 days. So if you're wanting to add and stretch, whether it's 5 to 7 more days, we can help best arrange recommendations for how to spend that additional time and whether it's on the front end or back end.
Any
Yeah,
other
Andy,
questions?
that is a good point. I mean, most of the lifts coming in from the US, they do arrive pretty late, 11 p.m. By the time you get out of customs and immigrations, which is usually a very rapid thing in Quito, but you might not get to the hotel until 12:31 a.m. and that is normal. And so, but again, we will have our land crew there to greet you and take you and escort you, help you check in. But that is a very common thing to land late and you arrive very early morning to your hotel. So again, like Angie said, if you want to add another hotel night, or obviously the pre-night land packages, whatever that might look like, might not be a bad idea when you're traveling that far, so to speak.
And we also have a question in the comments regarding the deposit and the final payments.
The deposit is 25% to reserve. So with the double occupancy per person prices, you would take 25% of that. And then the final payment is not due till 90 days prior. So you pay the deposit and then you pay the final payment, which would be, if that's February, then we're talking to go back, what is that, November? Yeah.
And we would also recommend trip insurance. So with each traveler that prior to making that deposit, we'll discuss the different options for trip insurance in terms of how much coverage you would like for medical evac. Obviously, medical evac when you're at sea is highly recommended. And there's different insurances based on cancel for any reason type policies and versus policies that are more for covered reasons, so medical issues that might affect your travel, and that can be related to you personally as the travel or also family members. And then I'll also share that if you are sharing a cabin with someone, it's important to address the insurance in case they have to cancel. If they have to cancel, then they could seek reimbursement from the insurance and their spot would be covered, or you can make arrangements between deposit and final payment for what would be the responsibilities of that other traveler if they had to cancel. So those are conversations that are important when you are sharing a cabin with someone.
Judy, you raised your hand. Do you have audio in order
Yeah,
to jump
yeah,
on?
I do. Yeah, I do. So I have a couple questions. The first is, are any vaccines needed to travel to the area?
I think the answer is no, because I didn't have any. Whether or not there's any vaccines that might be recommended for this region. Sometimes people travel with different medications for upset stomachs and things like that, but we'll make sure to incorporate that into our documentation just based on, sourcing the right resources, Judy. But I'm not aware of any requirements. And Linda and Esteban, did you have any consultation with your physicians about vaccines for your trips?
I had
Not at this
researched
time.
it before the trip. I didn't see anything that warranted additional vaccinations, so we didn't do anything in preparation for this trip. So,
Good.
no.
Good, good. Okay. And then my other question, I think, is for Esteban and maybe Angie. How rigorous of the is the hiking? So my husband had a broken back. He's since recovered, but he doesn't have a lot of stamina when it comes to hiking. And are there alternate activities for him on those days?
I can tell you that the hiking is actually more of a wilderness walk.
Okay.
There was only one day that we did a hike that we scaled a peak, and it was not a very high peak, but every other walk was really a walk.
Okay.
And there were people of various different skill levels and activity levels and abilities. And even when somebody couldn't go the full distance, they had guides that would take them on shorter walks. So I don't think that that is going to be a limiting factor for you and your husband in the very least. They were very understanding, very flexible, and very accommodating. And the exertion level, even on what we call hikes, was not very intense.
Yeah, the
Perfect. Thank
intensity
you.
is the schedule itself. Like there are set times because the cruise has to coordinate the logistics of how much time and the time frame that they have on the island. It's very, very rare that I saw more than one ship exploring an island. So there's that level of privacy, and also it's a reflection of the sustainability of the tourism in the Galapagos Islands. So you are getting off the ship, and you don't really feel the structure, in my opinion, because you just have to listen to your guides, and they let you know you have 20 minutes of free time before we're going to head out in the zodiacs. And so it's important to just keep in mind that you won't feel like the stress of a schedule because you have no other place to go. That's the beauty, right? Um, but at the same time, there is logistics involved in getting to each experience.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
will also,
Go ahead.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Esteban.
I will also add that while it's very intense in terms of, before sunrise hike, morning hike, afternoon, snorkeling, at any point in time, there were many people on the ship who said, oh, you know what, I did that. Don't feel like doing that this afternoon. So it's a very leisurely, there's no pressure of any sort. And even if you choose to forego an experience, you will be sitting next to one of the other passengers enjoying a cocktail, having a good chuckle as the rest of us are dry landing and wet landing and struggling with our wetsuits. So you may choose to stay on the ship. You may choose to do the experience. It's very flexible either way. And I would highly suggest that you do take that experience and that opportunity to do so. The guides and the expedition team will be able to tailor your experiences to your level without a doubt.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to just piggyback on that. And before dinner each night, the expedition team will explain in minute detail what's going to happen the next day. And they will take your questions and concerns. And exactly what Esteban said, you're going to have those people that kind of want to go kind of full out and hike to the top of the peak, so to speak. But then we have those of us who want to kind of take it a little easier and maybe kind of just do the beach combing way, and that is perfectly fine. Or maybe just do the glass bottom boat, or maybe just do a Zodiac ride, and that is fine as well. And the expedition staff will kind of listen to those requests and then tailor the next day itinerary according to the guest needs, so to speak. So there's absolutely no pressure. This is your adventure, your vacation, and you can do as much or as little as you want to do. But if you want to go full out and do it all, then you certainly are more than welcome to join us on that too.
And Linda, I love that you added in the comments that there's a doctor on board. That is a huge benefit, especially if somebody has any issues on ship, whether it's a knee injury or a sore knee or something that needs iced or looked at, something gets swollen. And you're worried that it's going to affect your activity level. The doctor's on board to really assess that for you. And that's not a benefit that's offered on all ships in the Galapagos. So that's really a nice benefit that you have aboard HX.
Yeah, it's nice to have that if you stub your toe or you need a band-aid or maybe a leave or something. So, maybe it's just someone to talk to.
And Julie, before you wrap up, I just want to add that the camaraderie that you've created amongst travelers is definitely an added benefit to traveling as a group. You've really created a strong community, and the BTA travelers really enjoy the continued connection that they've formed with other travelers through your interaction. And I also think that it's a huge icebreaker. So you will have already established some introductions ahead of time, and people then can feel more acquainted with other travelers, really on prior to day one of sailing, which is great.
Yeah, we do group chats, we do group calls so that people can get acquainted. And I frequently have repeat travelers who have been on other trips and who, okay, what's the next one? Give me the info. So you see people kind of show up and join again and make a new batch of friends, and it's kind of like the circle of life infinity thing. So I really appreciate it, and I love seeing the friendships form. So I'm just getting so excited for this trip, actually. I think we've had some great questions, and I know we're a little bit over, so I think we'll wrap it. But of course, you guys know my email address by now, julie@travelbta.com. Send me whatever questions, concerns. If you are ready to go, then send me that as well. And we'll get you locked and loaded. And of course, as you have needs for pre and post, we can brainstorm that and take care of whatever you need. So I think this went great. I'm really, really looking forward to this trip, and I appreciate all the panelists for joining and sharing their expertise, and just hope to welcome you guys.